is the ultimate travel guide from the people who know it best. Weekends with Yankee.
Earlier this season, I introduced you to Mount Washington's weather, which is some of the most dramatic weather in the world. But today, I'm telling a different story, the story of the Cog, one of the oldest railways in the world. When Sylvester Marsh first conceived of his mountain climbing train in 1852, one legislator said he'd sooner be able to build a railway to the moon. 16 years later, he proved them wrong. Two kinds of locomotives travel on these rails today: an old steamer which is still fired up by coal, and a more eco-friendly modern version which is run on diesel fuel. I decided to go up by coal and down by diesel. Right now I'm at 2,700 feet. I'm at the base of Mount Washington, the tallest mountain in all of New England. But I'm also about to get onto the Mount Washington Cog Railway, one of the most famous rails in all the world. Good morning, how are you?
Good, how are you?
A little cold?
Yeah, I hope everybody's dressed warm today.
So what is a cog?
Cog, giant gear like you have on your bicycle, and it climbs the rack in the middle, kind of like a chain, and that's where we get our traction.
How old is this? This looks pretty old.
The boilers are from 1986, but the design is originally from the turn of the century. It's a unique experience for sure. We've got 1 ton of coal to get us to the summit. It's used mostly on the way up. Steam power, think of a tea kettle. We boil the water and it creates pressure in there. The steam is then shot into the cylinders and the pistons, which drives it back and forth. In 1866, construction started. It took 3 years to build, and the men who built this were veterans of the Civil War.
Wow.
So you're touching history. Back then, it was about conquering things and taming the mountain.
All right, so as we come around this next bend up ahead, we'll be coming out onto Jacob's Ladder. This is the steepest part of the tracks. The front of the coach where I'm standing is approximately 14 feet higher than the rear of the tender. The original Jacob's Ladder got blown over in the hurricane of 1938.
Pretty cool, huh? What are we at, about 4,800 feet?
A little over, yeah.
Yeah, so we're just below 5,000 feet, and it's pretty amazing because you can see the wind starting to whip up here. Mount Washington is just notorious for its high winds. You really feel like you're in a different place. It has a magical quality. You can be blasé about a lot of things, but Mount Washington is not one of them. Traveling on a steam train, because it's using a very basic fuel like coal and steam, you almost feel the groans are like a living creature. I'm sure the engineers here know every creaking, groaning, bending, twisting sound. It harkens back to a time long ago when this was the modern mode of transportation. Well, we've just arrived at the summit of Mount Washington. We're approximately 6,200 feet. It feels like we are on a different place on Earth than when we started at the bottom. This is actually the first time I've come to the summit other than hiking it. I have to admit, this is an easier way to get here. After spending a little time at the top of this beautiful mountain, it was soon time to head back down. This time, I board the diesel train, a more modern train that is quicker and environmentally cleaner. I see your hand is on some buttons. Obviously, you're not playing a video game.
My joystick, it's a dead man switch, so I have to hold it over. If I passed out or let go of it, the train would stop. And as far as the buttons go, one's for speeding up, one's for slowing down, and the other button's a horn.
I'm sure some people prefer the old steam locomotives, a lot more romance to them, but I will say these newer diesel trains are a lot quieter, and look, the view is just as great.
The steam train takes approximately 1 ton of coal and 1,000 gallons of water to reach the summit, and then it's just gravity to bring it back down. But the diesel trains, for our whole trip up and down, takes about 18 gallons of fuel.
Oh my gosh, it just seems so much more efficient.
The other difference is the steamer takes about an hour, hour and change to reach the summit,
Right.
and these diesels take about 45 minutes.
I'm not in any hurry. This is absolutely stunning. I've had a love affair with Mount Washington my entire life, and I remember as a boy reading about the mountain, the winds, the weather, and then as I became an adult, I came to appreciate the different seasons here. The explosion of colors, the ferocious winds and snows at the top. You feel like you're being transported someplace else. If I had to encapsulate the one thing that brought all of New England together, this would be it. This is absolutely an experience that I would recommend everybody have. It's Mount Washington in all its glory.